As a disclaimer, if you've clicked on this video expecting me to bash this movie, you've come to the wrong place. Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is the newest addition to this legacy reboot franchise. In this one, the Spengler family returns to the iconic New York City firehouse where the original Ghostbusters have taken ghostbusting to the next level. When the discovery of an ancient artifact unleashes an evil force, Ghostbusters new and old must unite to protect their home and save the world from a second ice age. As someone who is a massive fan of Ghostbusters Afterlife, I was admittedly really looking forward to this movie, yet somewhat skeptical. I thought the last movie did a great job at honoring the legacy of the franchise, specifically Spengler's character. It was a movie made with love, about family, and directed by the son of the late Ivan Reitman. I felt like it did everything right for the most part in what it set out to do, and revived the franchise in a way that it could continue to move forward in a positive direction. So when this movie initially came out and it received very low ratings across all the different aggregate score sites, as well as many fans of the franchise going to social media calling this an abomination to the franchise, I was very shocked. If anything, it piqued my interest more because I wanted to see how bad this movie really was. Now, after seeing it for myself, do I agree with the majority? No, I really don't. In fact, I had a really good time with Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Does it have its fair share of problems? Absolutely. And honestly, I think many of the criticisms have been extremely valid. In fact, I agree with a few of them. But I'd be lying if I said that when I walked out of seeing this for the first time, I didn't enjoy myself. I think once again, the family core dynamic here is very strong. We spend a lot of time with these characters just being with each other or doing their Ghostbuster duties. Relationships grow stronger, but they're also tested and they're faced with things as a family that they have to overcome. But outside of the core family, we're also reunited with the original characters who face their own challenges and have plenty of moments of camaraderie themselves. I mentioned the original characters coming back, and while there's an obvious gaping hole with the absence of Harold Ramis, we still get Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Bill Murray back together again, and the chemistry is still there. It's like they never put down the proton packs. Another thing I really loved about Frozen Empire, and take this as you will, it feels like the animated series. The filmmakers and even some of the cast mentioned that a big player in the Legacy franchise was going to be taking inspiration from the real Ghostbusters animated series, and this movie especially definitely implements a lot of that style. A big part of this is the fact that they spend so much time in this movie living as the Ghostbusters, inside of the firehouse, interacting with the gear and the ghost chamber, and being in action as the Ghostbusters. It didn't try to do what they've done before by setting up what the Ghostbusters are and establishing the lore and giving loads of backstory to catch us up with what's come before. This world feels very lived in, and right from the start it takes off without worrying about telling us things that we've already heard before. It was fun getting to see this new core group, as they've already accepted their new life as Ghostbusters, doing Ghostbuster things. One thing that really worried me about this movie is that Jason Reitman is not directing this time around. He still co-wrote the script, but this time his writing partner Gil Kenan is behind the camera. But this is the first time in this timeline that a Reitman hasn't directed the movie. And I just worried that maybe the movie wouldn't capture the same magic as the rest. But my worries were quickly dismissed, and honestly, this may be the best directed movie of the entire franchise. It's very visually pleasing and has a lot of flair to it. There's some big set pieces and a lot of different locations at play. The script for this also has a lot going on, which is also one of the things that I would consider a negative for the movie. But that aside, if Gil Kenan's direction wasn't as fluid or as exciting as it needed to be, if it didn't match the energy of the script, this movie wouldn't have worked nearly as well as it did. But for everything he does have to balance, I was thoroughly impressed with how he was able to pull it off. And to continue with things I liked, just like the last movie, again, I think Paul Rudd and Mckenna Grace are fantastic. Rudd delivers the humor and the heart that we've learned to expect from him as an actor. It's obvious he was having a ton of fun here.
Can I tell you something else? What? Buster makes me feel good. It makes me feel good.
And Mckenna Grace is arguably the new face of the franchise. I love everything about her character. She's very believable at being this intelligent and curious and inventive teenager who is obviously advanced at most things, but she's still a teenager who's learning things about life and relationships and how the world works. And this time around, she's really tested. She's kind of forced this time to stay back and be a kid, and with that, she's met with feelings of being left behind and being left out. But because of that, she's met with challenges that force her to grow and mature. But something I think the movie does really well with her character, but also some of the older characters as well, is this idea of chasing your destiny. That you're never too old or too young to pursue your passions, regardless of what society may tell you. There isn't a shelf life, but there also isn't a specific moment in time that's the right time to pursue those things. You're going to face challenges, you're going to be met with adversity, but it's how you overcome that adversity that's true proof of your character and what you're capable of. That's the biggest thing I took away from this movie that really worked for me. But the movie isn't perfect. Even though I enjoyed my time with it, I'm not blind to the fact that it has issues. Going back to what I mentioned earlier about the script, it's definitely juggling a lot, whether that's different subplots or all of the characters it crams in. We've got the Afterlife crew, the OG crew, newcomers Kumail Nanjiani and Patton Oswald, as well as new Ghostbusters. While I enjoyed everything I got with these characters, because there are so many of them, that results in some of them not really having enough opportunity to be fleshed out. As much as I love Kumail Nanjiani showing up in this movie and he adds a lot of humor to the mix, you can argue that his character is used simply to be a plot device to move the story forward. And as much as I love Patton Oswald, his character isn't really needed outside of a few funny moments. There are also certain elements of the story I loved and that I wish could have been explored further, but didn't get the opportunity because the movie had so much going on. There's no denying that the movie spreads itself thin at times, but that's the risk you run into when both trying to incorporate legacy elements while also trying to lay the groundwork for the future of the franchise. And you could also argue that the final battle is somewhat underdeveloped and a little bit underwhelming. For as big of a threat as they were establishing, it doesn't necessarily have the best payoff that I was hoping for. But for every issue I have with the movie, none of it ruined the experience for me. In all actuality, my biggest issue is that I just wanted more of all of it. It's ambitious, and at times the ambition outweighs the execution, but there isn't a moment individually that I just simply did not like. For what I want from this franchise, from what experience I expected to have with this movie, I got it from Frozen Empire, and for that, even considering its flaws, I still walked away very satisfied. I obviously didn't grow up with this franchise, and I don't have as deep of a connection with it as many people who watch these movies, but I've grown to love these movies more and more as the years go by, and with this new iteration and these new additions to the franchise, I just keep finding more to love. And really, when I look at both Afterlife and this movie, it's hard for me to see how, as a massive fan of the franchise, you can't appreciate what they're doing here. They're not trying to erase the legacy. They're not trying to overwrite what the original set up. Really, both Afterlife and Frozen Empire have spent a majority of their stories honoring that legacy and building on it, not trying to erase it. It's clear that these movies are made with love and with passion, which in today's day and age, when everything is being remade or rebooted or we're getting sequels way too late, passion is something that is often missing. But here, there's no shortage of it. So I will be very happy moving forth as a defender of this movie and of the stories that they are telling. And honestly, I'd like to see another one. I think there is more of a story to tell here. And I think as long as these legacy characters are still around, you might as well use them. But I also think they are establishing a future that has plenty of promise as well. This was a very long-winded review for a Ghostbusters movie, but I was very passionate and had a lot of things to say, so this is my review. But with all that being said, I'm gonna have to give Ghostbusters Frozen Empire an 8 out of 10.
I like it a lot.
So guys, as always, make sure to comment down below. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this movie. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Where does it sit for you in the franchise? Would you like to see another one? I'd love to hear all your thoughts and opinions. As always, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, I'll see y'all later. Peace out.